listening to the Holy Bible 1-Year Challenge with Master Storyteller Michael Wood, featuring the easy-to-read version and used by permission from Bible League International. Enjoy the show!
Hello everyone, welcome to day 43. We're continuing in the book of Exodus, and the most serious of plagues are about to happen, enough to turn the tide and make Pharaoh want to push the Hebrew people out of Egypt. But what's interesting here is at some point, it seems like Pharaoh was willing to let the people go, but God wasn't finished. It's almost as if God didn't want to end the party early because he really wanted to show his power, something that the descendants would truly talk about. And God sets into motion the holiday called the Passover festival. And when we jump into the New Testament, you're going to again see the Passover festival being celebrated thousands of years later. In fact, the more you study the life of Jesus, you'll see many events that happen in his life parallel directly with Hebrew traditions and festivals. And so in the New Testament, we are continuing in the book of Matthew. There's not much of a trial at this point. Remember, the people in Israel are under the rule of the Roman Empire. They are an oppressed people. Now, it just so happens that the Roman Empire let the conquered people basically retain their own cultures and tradition as long as they paid homage to Caesar and paid taxes and left things like capital punishment to the Roman authorities. And so that's the politics that's going on here with Pilate just trying to keep the peace. He really wants nothing to do with the religious war of the Pharisees. So they come up with some charges to justify the death of Jesus. And Jesus is not only executed, but is tortured and ridiculed by the Roman soldiers. Let's remember, harassing the conquered peoples was sort of a blood sport for the Romans. Stay with us to hear all the details. If you enjoy the show, visit me at patreon.com/StoryMaster. You'll find the link in the description box below. By contributing as little as $1 per month, you will enable me to continue this ministry, and you'll get cool rewards too. Together, we're going to get through the Bible in 1 year. Let's get started. Exodus chapter 11. Then the Lord told Moses,
I have one more disaster to bring against Pharaoh in Egypt. After this, he will ask you to leave Egypt. In fact, he will force you to leave this country. You must give this message to the Israelites. Men and women, you must ask your neighbors to give you things made of silver and gold.
the Lord caused the Egyptians to be kind to the Israelites. The Egyptians, even Pharaoh's own officials, already considered Moses to be a great man. And Moses said to the king, "This is what the Lord says. At midnight tonight, I will go through Egypt, and every firstborn son in Egypt will die. From the firstborn son of Pharaoh the king to the firstborn son of the slave girl grinding grain. Even the firstborn of all the cattle will die. The crying in Egypt will be worse than at any time in the past or any time in the future. But none of the Israelites or their animals will be hurt. Not even a dog will bark at them. Then you will know that the Lord has treated Israel differently from Egypt." Then Moses said to Pharaoh, "All these officials of yours will come and bow down to me. They will beg me to leave and take all my people with me. Only then will I leave." Then, full of anger, Moses left the meeting with Pharaoh. Then the Lord told Moses,
The reason Pharaoh will not listen to you is so that I could show my power in even more ways in the land of Egypt.
So Moses and Aaron did all these great miracles in front of Pharaoh. The Lord made Pharaoh so stubborn that he would not let the Israelites leave his country. Exodus chapter 12. While Moses and Aaron were still in Egypt, the Lord said to them,
This month will be the first month of the year for you. This command is for the whole community of Israel. On the 10th day of this month, each man must get one lamb for the people in his house. If there are not enough people in the house, to eat a whole lamb. They should share the lamb with neighbors. The lamb should be divided so that everyone has plenty to eat. The lamb must be a 1-year-old male, and it must be completely healthy. This animal can be either a young sheep or a young goat. You should take care of the animal until the 14th day of the month. On that day, all the people of the community of Israel must kill these animals just before dark. You must collect the blood from these animals and put it on the top and sides of the door frame of every house where the people eat this meal. That night, you must roast the lamb over a fire. You must eat it with bitter herbs and bread made without yeast. You must not eat any of the lamb raw or boiled in water. You must roast all the parts over a fire. This includes the head, the legs, and everything from the inside. You must eat all the meat that night. If any of the meat is left until morning, you must burn it in the fire. When you eat the meal, you must be fully dressed and ready to travel. You must have your sandals on your feet and your walking stick in your hand. You must eat in a hurry, because this is the Lord's Passover. That night, I will go through Egypt and kill every firstborn man and animal in Egypt. In this way, I will judge all the gods of Egypt and show that I am the Lord. But the blood on your houses will be a special sign. When I see the blood, I will pass over your house. I will cause bad things to happen to the people of Egypt, but none of these bad diseases will hurt you. You will always remember tonight. It will be a special festival for you. Your descendants will honor the Lord with this festival forever. For 7 days, you will eat only bread made without yeast. On the first day, you will remove all the yeast from your houses. No one should eat any of the yeast for the full 7 days of this festival. Anyone who eats yeast must be separated from the rest of Israel. There will be holy assemblies on the first day and the last day of the festival. You must not do any work on these days. The only work you can do is preparing the food for your meals. You must remember the festival of unleavened bread, because on this day I took all your people out of Egypt in divisions. All your descendants must remember this day. This is a law that will last forever. So on the evening of the 14th day of the first month, you will begin eating bread without yeast. You will eat this bread until the evening of the 21st day of the same month. For 7 days there must not be any yeast in your houses. Anyone, either a citizen of Israel or an immigrant living among you, who eats yeast at this time must be separated from the rest of Israel. During this festival, you must not eat any yeast. You must eat bread made without yeast wherever you live.
So Moses called all the leaders together and told them, "Get the lambs for your families. Kill the lambs for Passover. Take bunches of hyssop and dip them in the bowls filled with blood. Paint the blood on the sides and top of each door frame. No one must leave their house until morning. At the time the Lord goes through Egypt to kill the firstborn, he will see the blood on the sides and top of each door frame. Then he will protect that house and not let the destroyer come into any of your houses and hurt you. You must remember this command. This law is for you and your descendants forever. You must remember to do this even when you go to the land of the Lord is given you. When your children ask you,
'Why are we doing this ceremony?'
you will say,
'This Passover is to honor the Lord, because when we were in Egypt, he passed over the houses of Israel. He killed the Egyptians, but he saved the people in our houses.'"
Then the people bowed down and worshiped the Lord. The Lord had given this command to Moses and Aaron. So the Israelites did what the Lord commanded. At midnight, the Lord killed all the firstborn sons in Egypt, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh, the king, to the firstborn son of the prisoner sitting in jail. Also, the firstborn of all the animals died. That night, someone died in every house in Egypt. Pharaoh, his officials, and all the people of Egypt began to cry loudly. So that night, Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said to them,
"Get up and leave my people. You and your people can do as you say. Go and worship the Lord. Take all your sheep and cattle with you, just as you said you would. Go and say a blessing for me too."
The people of Egypt also asked them to hurry and leave. They said,
If you don't leave, we will all die.
the Israelites did not have time to put the yeast in their bread. They just wrapped the bowls of dough with cloth and carried them on their shoulders. Then the Israelites did what Moses asked them to do. They went to their Egyptian neighbors and asked for clothing and things made from silver and gold. The Lord caused the Egyptians to be kind to the Israelites and give them whatever they wanted. So in this way, the Israelites carried off the wealth of the Egyptians. The Israelites traveled from Ramses to Succoth. There were about 600,000 men, not counting the women and children. A great number of people who were not Israelites went with them, along with many sheep, cattle, and other livestock. The people did not have time to put yeast in their bread or make any special food for their journey, so they had to bake the bread without yeast. The Israelites had lived in Egypt for 430 years. On the very day the 430 years ended, all the armies of the Lord left Egypt. The night they left, the Lord watched over them to bring them safely out of Egypt. So on this same night each year, the Israelites will always celebrate to remember what the Lord did. The Lord told Moses and Aaron,
These are the rules for Passover. No foreigner is allowed to eat the Passover meal. Foreigner who is staying with you as a hired worker is not allowed to eat the meal. But if someone buys a slave and circumcises him, the slave could eat the Passover meal. Each family must eat the meal in one house. None of the food is to be taken outside the house. Don't break any of the lamb's bones. The whole community of Israel must celebrate this special night. If an immigrant living among you wants to share in the Lord's Passover, he must be circumcised. Then he can share in the meal like any other citizen of Israel. But a man who is not circumcised cannot eat the Passover meal. The same rules are for everyone. Doesn't matter if they are citizens or immigrants living among you.
So all the Israelites obeyed the commands that the Lord gave to Moses and Aaron. On that same day, the Lord led all the Israelites out of the country of Egypt. The people left in groups. Matthew chapter 27, verses 11 to 44. Governor Pilate questions Jesus. Jesus stood before Pilate, the governor, who asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Yes, that's right." But when the leading priests and the older leaders accused Jesus, he said nothing. So Pilate said to him, "Don't you hear all these charges they are making against you? Why don't you answer?" But Jesus did not say anything. And this really surprised the governor. Every year during the Passover festival, the governor always freed one prisoner for the people, any prisoner they wanted. At that time, there was a man in prison who was known to be very bad. His name was Barabbas. When a crowd gathered, Pilate said to them, "I will free one man for you. Which one do you want me to free? Barabbas or Jesus, who some call the Messiah?" Pilate knew that they had handed Jesus over to him because they were jealous of him. While Pilate was sitting there in the place for judging, his wife sent a message to him. It said,
"Don't do anything with that man. He is not guilty. Last night I had a dream about him, and it troubled me very much."
But the leading priests and older leaders told the people to ask for Barabbas to be set free and for Jesus to be killed. Pilate said,
I have Barabbas and Jesus. Which one do you want me to set free for you?
The people answered,
Barabbas!
Pilate asked,
So what should I do with Jesus, the one called the Messiah?
all the people said.
Kill him on a cross!
Pilate asked,
Why do you want me to kill him? What wrong has he done?
but they shouted louder.
Kill him on a cross!
Pilate saw that there was nothing he could do to make the people change. In fact, it looked as if there would be a riot. So he took some water and washed his hands in front of them all. He said,
I am not guilty of this man's death. You are the ones who are doing it.
the people answered,
We'll take full responsibility for his death. You can blame us and our children.
Then Pilate set Barabbas free. And he told some soldiers to beat Jesus with whips. Then he handed him over to the soldiers to be killed on a cross. Then Pilate's soldiers took Jesus into the governor's palace, and they gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They took off Jesus' clothes and put a scarlet robe on him. Then they made a crown from thorny branches and put it on his head, and they put a stick in his right hand. Then they knelt down before him, making fun of him. They said,
We salute you, King of the Jews!
They spat on him, and they took his stick and kept hitting him on the head with it. After they finished making fun of him, the soldiers took off the robe and put his own clothes on him again. Then they led him away to be killed on a cross. The soldiers were going out of the city with Jesus. They saw a man from Cyrene named Simon, and they forced him to carry Jesus' cross. They came to the place called Golgotha. Golgotha means the place of the skull. There the soldiers gave Jesus some wine mixed with gall, but when he tasted it, he refused to drink it. The soldiers nailed Jesus to a cross. Then they threw dice to divide his clothes between them. The soldiers stayed there to guard him. They put a sign above his head with the charge against him written on it. This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. Two criminals were nailed to crosses besides Jesus, one on the right and the other on the left. People walked by and shouted insults at Jesus. They shook their heads and said,
He has said you could destroy the temple and build it again in 3 days. So, save yourself. Come down from that cross if you really are the Son of God.
The leading priests, the teachers of the law, and the older leaders were also there. They made fun of Jesus the same as the other people did, and they said,
He saved others, but he can't save himself. If he is the King of Israel, he should come down now from the cross. Then we will believe in him. He trusted God and even said he was God's son. So let God save him now, if God really wants him.
And in the same way, the criminals on the crosses beside Jesus also insulted him. Psalm chapter 21, verses 1 through 7. For the music director, a psalm of David. Lord, your strength makes the king happy. He is so happy when you give him victory, and you gave him what he wanted. You gave him what he asked for. Selah. You gave the king such wonderful blessings. You put a gold crown on his head. He asked for life, and you gave it. You gave him life that goes on forever. You led him to victory that brought him great glory. You gave him honor and fame. You have given him blessings that will last forever. You have given him the joy of being near you. The king trusts in the Lord, and the faithful love of God Most High will keep him from falling. Thank you, everyone. That was day 43. Join us for day 44. The Hebrews have escaped slavery and they're out of Egypt. But while they're in the middle of the desert, Pharaoh has a change of heart and decides he wants them back. So he sends his soldiers to get them. And in the book of Matthew, Jesus is hanging on a cross. And if Jesus were to die on that cross, that could end this whole religion and Messiah thing. And in 24 hours, everyone's going to forget the whole thing ever happened. And to make sure there's none of this resurrection business, they send armed guards to guard his tomb. Think about it. When's the last time you saw people with machine guns guarding a dead man's tomb? Why are you standing there, you might ask? And they'll say, well, we want to make sure he doesn't come back to life. Sounds strange. But to see the Romans execute Jesus in such a bloody fashion, and then to see him come back to life, would definitely be embarrassing. We hope you enjoyed today's verses. Be sure to leave us a positive review and to share this podcast with your friends and family. Please join us for the next episode as we experience the Bible in 1 year.
Did you know we offer online courses in creative writing, literature, and web design? Visit us at storymaster.online to learn more.